Our guest today has made great contributions to the Christian Research Journal. His name is Fuz Rana. He is president. He's the chief executive officer of Reasons to Believe, an incredible ministry. He has a PhD in chemistry. He's the author of many different articles, as I just mentioned, some of which have appeared in the Christian Research Journal. He's the author of quite a few books, but the book we're really interested in today, and a book you have to read. I mean, this is cutting edge stuff. Humans 2.0, subtitled Scientific, Philosophical, and Theological Perspectives on Transhumanism. One of the ethical considerations that you bring up in the book is the distinction between adult stem cells and their use and embryonic stem cells. And I don't think that can be emphasized enough. We sort of touched on it a few moments ago, but I really think this is an area that bears elaboration, both from a moral standpoint, an ethical standpoint, but also from a practical standpoint. There's a big distinction between embryonic stem cells and how they behave and adult stem cells.
Yeah. Yeah, well, because a stem cell is just simply a cell that is undifferentiated, that has the potential to develop into particular cell types. So embryonic stem cells can develop into virtually any of the 210 cells that make up the human body. Adult stem cells have limited developmental potential, but one of the things that we've discovered is that many adult stem cells in a laboratory setting can actually develop into a remarkably wide range of different cell types, much more so than people would have initially thought. And the beauty is that adult stem cells are coming from adult tissues, right? So we're not creating an embryo and destroying it. We're taking the cells from existing adult tissue versus embryonic stem cells, which have to come from embryos that have been created specifically to isolate the stem cells. So there's a very different, ethical and moral status to those different types of cells. And most of the success that people have had in the clinic is with adult stem cells. It's not with embryonic stem cells.
That's so interesting. That's so interesting because you don't hear about that nearly as much as embryonic stem cells.
Yeah. Well, and there's another type of stem cell that's been invented, if you will. This was maybe a little bit over a decade ago now, but these researchers took a type of cell from the skin, it's called a fibroblast, and they figured out how to convert it into a cell that is like an embryonic stem cell. And so these are called induced pluripotent stem cells. So, a mouthful there, but they are very interesting cells that behave like embryonic stem cells, but are not embryonic stem cells. They come from adult tissues. And in fact, next to adult stem cells, a lot of the work that I see today in stem cell biology is with induced pluripotent stem cells. And what's interesting is that the people that developed this were motivated because of the ethical concerns with embryonic stem cells. So this is a place where the Christian community, in a broad sense, this would include Protestants and Catholics and Orthodox Christians, as well as, people from Judaism, maybe even Islam, voice these ethical concerns with enough force involving embryonic stem cells that there were researchers who may not have otherwise been motivated, realize that if we're really going to make progress with stem cell biology, we've got to sidestep the use of embryos, and we're motivated to search for, new types of cells like these induced pluripotent stem cells, or we're motivated to pursue adult stem cell technology and push it maybe further than people thought it could potentially go. But this is a point where Christians actually, or people of faith maybe is a better way to say this, actually moved the needle in the right direction, right? It doesn't mean that there's still not people pursuing embryonic stem cell work. There are, but there are alternatives now that are not ethically and morally problematic. And I think the lesson to learn from this is that it's so easy to get discouraged when you start seeing things like advances in gene editing, advances in brain-computer interface, advances in anti-aging. I mean, I actively read the scientific literature in these areas. I can't keep up with it. The advances are happening so rapidly, I can't keep up with it. I'm just as surprised as the next person when I read articles about what's been accomplished. And a lot of times it's things that have been accomplished that I never thought would even be possible, even 6 months prior to that. So it's happening so fast that ethicists don't have time to deliberate on the implications of the technology before the next advance happens and the next advance happens. And so it's so easy to get discouraged, when you see this type of thing happening, when you're concerned about the consequences of, gene editing or BCI technology. But I've seen in the past where Christians have engaged our culture in a sophisticated way with their worldview and have influenced the direction that research goes. They have influenced things in a way that is in line with our worldview and our values as Christians. So to me, the worst thing we can do is give up. If we fight the good fight, it's surprising the influence that we can have in the world.